Empty hearts and neon lights. They're playing with my mind.
Hey guys, and welcome to day 42 of making videos, and today I'm interviewing Joseph. Against his will, I locked him in his Discord room and he can't escape, so he's bound to talk to me for a few minutes. Joseph, I wanted to start. I did an interview with Sebastian, sort of wondering how he'll feel about America in a year. You're 3 years nearly into your moving out here. I'll start off with a softball question. What was the easiest part about moving?
The easiest?
Easiest part about moving.
I would say the easiest part about moving was how quick it is. It's not something you have to fight through for a couple of weeks or like months. You just get on the plane with your stuff, boom, and it's done. So I would say definitely the easiest, because most things that are worthwhile in life take a while, but it's just so quick. So I would definitely say that's the easiest.
Okay,
In terms of
probably
transitioning,
yeah.
I would say the easiest part is the fact that you already have family out here, making it very easy just to rely on them and sort of hang out with them, hang out with their friends instead of having to find your own friends. So it makes things really easy for socializing and getting to know people. I'd say that for sure.
What was something hard?
This list goes on, but the hardest thing is by far the culture change for me. I thought just growing up, just hanging out with Turnbull family, some online European friends, the culture change of meeting a bunch of other really young people who are all American and, in my opinion, really annoying and very like conservative and very careful about how they do things. I'd say on a personal level, connecting with people was kind of difficult because people are very different to what we grew up with. But the hardest thing on the whole has been transitioning, like, as a person. You're no longer in England. You're no longer on your own with like just mum and dad. You have to like be a functioning member of society in a place where you didn't grow up. I'd say that's very difficult, and that involves things like paying bills. That involves things like driving yourself around. That involves things like turning up to school on time, getting stuff done, all while dealing with a bunch of culture, which in my opinion is quite different from what we grew up with.
Yep. I wouldn't necessarily say we had that much culture change. I would just say culture began.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was hitting. Where
It really not much changed.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't meet, for better or for worse. We had a few people. We had like our closed circle. You know, Corey, Laurie,
Mm-hmm.
Story,
They all rhyme.
Story. I don't know. You know what I mean? Anne and Daniel.
Yeah, I do. I know exactly what you mean.
Redmond, French and football. You had set things. We always did, but none of that. I wouldn't even say that was a culture.
No, I would say, just to interject here, the reason why that wasn't a culture is because we didn't see them that much. Like out here, you see people at church, and then you run into them at school, and then you run into them in Aldi. Like, it's such a small place.
Would you say there is a good argument that we had a pretty isolationist upbringing?
Yes, I think it'd be hard to argue against that.
Oh, I think some people absolutely would.
That we had, well, isolationist in terms of friends, not in terms of technology. I mean, I had my hands on a laptop far younger than most people I know.
Yep.
But in terms of, not in terms of the big bad world, in terms of like seeing what's out there online, which is a huge part of the world nowadays. But in terms of friends and, yeah, I would make the argument that we had a very isolationist, and I like that, but I think we definitely did. Very isolated upbringing, for sure.
I didn't realize. I thought, okay, obviously, I knew we hadn't had the most exposure to the world, but I would never have said we were the most isolationist people that I knew, or even I just didn't think that was the case. But reflection has taught me a lot more.
Absolutely.
Than I think I realized initially.
Because you have to compare with people, like the
I don't
Bonzes
think we
or
missed that much. I actually don't think we missed out on that much. In terms of, I don't know what else. I don't think much could have improved from that perspective,
that's
considering
fair.
considering the circumstances we were already in.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just not every day you have 12 kids homeschooled by a mother who's given birth to them all inside the same 13 years.
Hmm. I agree.
You know, pretending otherwise is naive, really.
Hmm.
Um, if you had to give advice to Sebastian moving out generally, like, what would you say some things he should be ready for? What, I'll start off with that. I've got some other leading questions.
That's a really good question. Um, I would say one of the biggest things he's got to be ready for is the responsibility. Like, and you're at home in England, at least for me, I'm speaking very personally here, like, I can't speak for everybody. You feel as if you're kind of responsible because you make meals and you do things and you set your own bedtimes, you get up yourself, you get yourself to work, and that is more responsible than the average kid your age. But coming out here, you're totally responsible for everything yourself. Driving, paying, moving, absolutely everything. And so it's another huge step that a lot of people, in my opinion, don't really get. Like, it takes them years to transition to that stage, and they might be 25. If I look at my peers, they're 25 before they get to the level of responsibility that Basti will experience by the time he's 18 or 19. So that's one big thing. Be really ready to have to man up and, yeah, take care of yourself like you're a 35-year-old man.
What's something you didn't do that you wish you'd done sooner or earlier?
Good question. Didn't do.
Like,
I
if
wish
you have to do everything over again, how would you change it?
coming to America,
Yeah.
I would take my classes less seriously. It's crazy to say, but I would literally put my professors and my relationship with my professors
Hmm.
and my relationship with other people on campus way more than the grades. I actually think that GVSU computer science, if you graduate with a 3.0, you're absolutely fine. And so the diminishing returns I've got, I'm still getting that from putting so much work into my school and less time into, let's say, football or another sport I want to pick up, or some outside hobbies, or something else that's actually far more helpful to me. Like maybe another language. I mean, a real language, not like a programming language.
Hmm.
I think, yeah, I would put less effort into school and more into other things. That would be a big thing. And I know that's probably not the way you want to tell young kids about to go to school, but it's just me.
No, it's a fair point. I don't think necessarily most people would have that same problem though. Um,
Hmm.
you know what I
That's
mean?
fair.
I would say that isn't that's like an aspect people would have to improve who did put too much work into things. But right off the get go, I don't think it's easy to say to a youngster that, oh, actually you're actually probably going to spend too much time studying, so you should study less.
I know,
You
but
have to wait.
let me add on to that in saying that it's very easy to have like one goal you do, and it's actually really easy just to focus on that one goal.
Hmm.
So while people might be saying, "Oh, I do well in school, I'm so cool," in reality, school can be escapism from bigger issues that you're facing, and so it's actually really easy if you don't actually focus on your family, you don't actually focus on the real things that matter. It can be very simple to get very good grades in school. It only requires like 10 hours a week, and that's not a lot of time when there's 168 hours. So yeah, I would say that it's not always the right choice. Sometimes it can be the very wrong choice to do that, to put too much time into something.
What do you think Max and Julius and Sebastian? The big difference here is, with regards to responsibility, if Sebastian moves out in May and Dad moves out in December, Sebastian's most likely going to move back in with him, and it's going to be a very, very, very different
So
experience.
will I.
But it's going to be a really different experience for Sebastian.
Hmm. No,
It
I
will
think
be
so.
like the equivalent of living life on easy mode.
Well, easier compared to what we face, but I'm sure it'll have its own challenges, as everything does. I think
Yep.
that's a really good point to make that dad comes out here, everything will change, even for the people who are married, like yourself.
I don't think it'll change that much for me.
Oh, I think it would change less and less for you as you get older, but I still think it would be a big difference.
Yeah. No, I'm
But
prepared to agree, prepared to
but
exceed that.
it would actually be really, really different for Sebastian coming out here because it would allow him to just absolutely not have to put effort into like the financial side and like the maybe his even like his emotional and like stress in terms of dad handling things with um outside like the church, etc. um I could see it being very easy for him to excel very well at college because and at other things like football because he has that additional time on his hands. So I think that'd be a huge plus for both him, Max, and Julius. And I think if they want to come out here, that should be their goal.
What goal?
Their goal to come out with dad.
Yeah, I think it's more likely to happen that way round for sure.
Hmm.
I think personally, if I had to do everything again, or let's say I had to do everything as Sebastian, the first thing I would do when I got out here is learn to drive. Learn to drive properly, learn to drive well, and whatever money I had left over from Laurie's, which I'm hoping he has some savings, I'd buy a mid-range car. So I'm talking a car between 3,500 and 4,000, which is actually a price where you can get a car with no work needed doing to it, and you can do a lot with it for a while.
Hmm. I hate to be controversial on your interview and on your YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually would completely disagree with that.
Okay.
I think that dad and some older children, this is my opinion, have an overemphasis on learning to drive,
Mm-hmm.
and it really doesn't get you that much considering your family takes you to school and your
It allows you
family.
to pick up work. It allows
I
you to
know,
go
but
places yourself.
just let me finish my.
Go ahead.
Um, it allows you to go to work, to go to school. You don't need that. To go to church, you don't need that. And you'll be amazed how little you will do outside of going to school and going to church. Now, just think about that. It means you have extra money on hand to pay bills. You have extra money on hand to buy things. You have extra money on hand to do things. That you aren't plopping like a, as you said, like a good bit of money and time into
Mm-hmm.
something that the
No,
returns you get.
the returns on that is really only good for the summer, honestly. The summer is long. It's from April through August.
Hmm.
I
It's just
think you can do a lot, and in the winter, when you're driving to school, it's everyone has different class schedules. You know, it's not as
Mhm.
simple as.
No, I'm not saying it wouldn't be useful if someone plopped a car in your hands and gave you a license, but I'm just saying like there's a difference. Like now I'm getting to that stage where I'm nearly graduating and I need to work on my own in the summer, get my internships done, or I need to
Mhm.
be able to drive to soccer zone consistently and be able to do things. It's really useful for sure, but if you're just coming out here at 19, like Annabelle and Henry are a very good example. Their life has been very, very unchanged by the fact they can't drive.
Yeah, I just think you can do so much more. You could start a
Mhm.
low-ranked,
can.
low-paid job, just get ghosts. You know what I mean? You could start a job
Mhm.
right away.
Hmm.
You can
No,
get
there's
yourself there.
definitely benefits, but
I mean,
I just looking at Henry and Annabelle and
there's ways
myself.
to do it though properly. I think. I think it's
Mhm.
very, very important not to spend less than $2,000 on a car, because if you do, you end up spending that amount anyway eventually. Be it like Rupert bought like $1,000 cars, but he bought quite a few of them, or you have to put things into them, brakes,
Mhm.
rotors, just maintenance. Like look at my car, I bought over a year ago now, a year and a half ago, and just nothing put into it other than 2 oil changes in the full year because Mr. Greco does the oil that lasts a year with me. So I think it's one oil change a year, and that's
Mhm.
just so time efficient. I haven't ever had to
I know,
take it in
but
to get it serviced.
would you not think that sometimes cars are a bit of a lottery and you can get a like? Have you spoken to Mr. Quakel about his car? his car has never-ending issues.
His
Absolutely
Jetta, no,
never.
his Jetta. I know, but he actually knew that for a while. He just did. People with good advice don't take their own advice. Um, he wants to get stuff out of the Jetta. He's put so much into it, and he wants to keep driving it. He likes the gas mileage on it. I don't know. It's hard to take good advice sometimes, but I feel like if it was the reverse situation, he would advise someone to do not what he was doing with the Jetta.
I agree. Just saying.
Yep.
Just my own perspective.
There's a lot of ways. Like it's because you all live locally and then live centrally in a house with people who do drive. I think you're right. It's not as important of an issue, but for the future, the next year, I see you and Jemima being quite quickly out of there.
I don't see myself as being out of there.
No, but okay, you know what I mean though. And one driver before 4 people, Joseph, Henry, Annabelle, and Sebastian.
It's feasible. It's not ideal, but there's one more thing to take note of, and that is the Jeremy and Julia situation.
Yeah.
That has absolutely revolutionized our travel and our life back here. Absolutely. I'd say that's probably the biggest change to happen in Worcester since I've been out here.
Mhm.
Which is worth discussing, actually.
In what way? Obviously, they weren't there when I was there, so it'd be useful to know.
It's the closeness, it's the proximity. It means that it feels like instead of being like yourself and Lucy, it's totally different. It's like they feel as close to us as almost as if Larry as their next door. It feels like they're next door. That's what it feels like. So Henry and Annabelle can go out to dinner with Jeremy and Julia, as they did last night, and they can just do it on the fly, and they don't really have. There's very little preparation that needs involved. It takes them 2 minutes to come over here. They can go over and watch the football in the morning. It's much less of a journey as it is a little bike ride. Yeah. So I think that's it's added to the fact that Jeremy and Julia both drive. Like it's just added to the ease of which it is to live out here without being able to do that. But even just like outside of driving, it's just changed everything. Like they're like our neighbors.
They essentially are. They're so close to you by American standards. I mean, that is a bike. If you're a kid and you're in like an elementary or middle school, that would be just a bike ride over there to see the cousins.
No, it's revolutionary. It really is. It's good.
What's some things you've done, like path-wise, where if you'd go back again, you wouldn't do it?
I've done.
Yeah, like some pitfalls you fell into. So you say you would have studied less and working with professors more, but that's more of a, what you would do.
Something I wish I did.
Yeah. Or you'd just be another question, another thing from that first category. There can't only be one thing you would do differently.
I guess I wish I hadn't put too much emphasis on like people, and I guess I wouldn't be such a respecter of persons. I think that's a big thing to think about. Coming out here when you've had no friends at all, you've grown up, and then all of a sudden you have a bunch of people who are chatting to you and all the rest of it. It can be very difficult not to get sucked in. And I'm sure you older children know this way better than us because you guys were far more of like the pioneers. We're in like old news now in comparisons to you, but it's still something. It's difficult to stay grounded and not to be caught up in what people think of you, of your family, of lots of things. I'd say personally, it's much easier to live life if you just sort of. I'm not saying you don't give a toss of what anybody thinks about you, but I would try not to be so concerned about what people think and what people think of me.
That's one of those more common things I think everyone feels. I don't know.
I agree. It's a pretty generic answer, but
as you get older, you just realize how little some people care versus others. I'm not sure there's a way to like. Most people don't say to you, "Oh, at the end of my life, I worked too little. I wish I'd worked more. I wish I'd cared about people's opinions of me more." It's just not.
But going forward, like at our age, we're trying to focus on too many different. That the added like pressure is just not helpful because a lot of people grow up with people all around them the whole time, and so by the time they get to our age, they're good at like mitigating it,
Mhm.
and they know when to care and when not to care. But it can be difficult for us, I think. As you said, going from no culture to culture.
Yeah, it didn't change. It started, sort of thing. Yeah, there's a
Mhm.
lot of nuances. I mean, do you know any of the nuances that you've learned? I mean, I've learned some nuances just at work myself.
About the American culture,
Yeah,
or
just about how to work. Like, when I first started at Spectrum, they'd have potlucks every couple of weeks, maybe once every 2 months or so.
Mhm.
And I just helped myself. It's a potluck, right? You help yourself. Well, I had
Mhm.
to get reminded that you can only pick from the pot if you've contributed to the pot. Well, I thought to myself, but I'm just a young kid. You know what I mean? You
Mhm.
fall into this sort of, I'm just a young kid strategy. Like, that's for all you older people to worry about. But it really
Yeah.
isn't.
Mhm.
There's a lot of nuances to office life, and being stuck in the "I'm just a young person" mentality doesn't always help you. It didn't help me.
No, it rarely helps you.
Yeah, it may be an excuse, it may be a reason, but it's not an excuse. Um, People who they take drugs and all of a sudden go in a mad rage. It's a reason why they did it, but it's still not an excuse for doing it. Um, so I've had just little social niceties about how to work with people who don't like you. I've had to learn how to get on with people who don't like me. That's not
Mhm.
something I ever really had to grow up like this person. Like people at work. I work with hundreds, at least over 100 people daily. There's going to be people there who just don't like you. They don't like the cut of your jib. And
Mhm.
getting on with them is part of your life, and you can't like be liked by everybody. You can't even be
No.
like normal by everybody. There's going to be people who just don't like you. That's something I really struggled with.
Mhm.
What do you do when
No.
someone just doesn't like the cut of your jib? You know, they've got their reasons, but it's nothing more than they don't like the look of your face, and you know that, and it's not an easy thing to work around because we grew up in such a tightly knit circle. It's almost impossible for me to like ever. We just had to always make up and move on with things.
Mhm. For sure.
There was no excuses for like harboring grudges, or it wasn't. There was no quarter given when it came to that sort of thing.
Mhm. No, I think there's so many little things that if you don't have school friends just naturally teaching you, it can be amazing how long it'll take you to pick up. It goes from anything like Rupert and I were having a discussion yesterday on emojis versus emoticons. We had like a good 25-minute discussion on this. I've realized that I don't use emojis at all. I really find them like cringy and like just not what I would use. I use like emoticons.
Mhm.
But apparently, like that's now the cringy thing to do. Like emojis are all the range, and it can just show you like if you just don't communicate with enough people, whether it's school or whatever it is, work, you miss out on some things, and then you all of a sudden you use an emoticon that people are like nobody uses that anymore, and you're sort of looked
Did
at a bit
did you
weird.
use the XD?
Well, I'm a personal fan of XD, and I'm
Yeah.
not going to give up on it. Yeah, that one in particular is apparently
Is that
extremely childish, and
really?
that's what Rupert was
What
telling me.
scientific research or proof did he have to?
I
That
know I asked him the same thing, but at the same time, he works at a company with a lot of communication happening on a large scale in a written down way. And
can't fault that phrasing. Yeah, it's true. It does, and it does.
mhm. No, it's just one little thing that, like, if I was messaging all my school friends all the time, like I say high school friends or even college friends, that's something I probably would have picked up, but I haven't, so I didn't.
Mhm.
All these little things, whether it's from certain hygiene techniques to, um, yeah, anything.
I hadn't considered the emoticon. I guess it could have come across as cringy. I mean, I can see how it would. That is the sort of thing that can become quite cringy if people quoting it wrong, or it just looks like a try hard. are nice guys type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think on that note, I'm just going to call it there, sir. Thank you very much for
Mhm.
spending a few minutes of your time with me.
No problem.